On the news, 2026 Appropriation Bill, Senate passes for second reading, 2026 proposed budget.
This bill is now committed to the Committee on Appropriation to revert to the Senate in 1 month.
House of Representatives passes the revised 2024-2025 Appropriation Act. Plus, Yobe State House of Assembly passes 2026 state budget.
The clean copy is here with us. We prepare it for his Chief Executive's assent.
Good evening and welcome to Parliamentary News, reaching you from NTA Parliament, Abuja. I'm Joshua Okuchili. Many thanks for joining us. We begin the news as Senate passes for second reading federal government's proposed budget estimate of 58.472 trillion naira for 2026. The budget of consolidation, renewed resilience, and shared prosperity was laid Friday, 19th December 2025 by President Bola Tinubu before a joint session. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports.
The second reading of the 2026 National Budget Bill in the Red Chamber was on the front burner as debate on the 58.472 trillion naira proposal was led by the Senate leader, Senator Okoyemi Bamidele. The lawmakers described the estimate as realistic fiscal game plan to boost Nigeria's economy.
The responsibility before us is to subject this bill to rigorous legislative scrutiny, ensure transparency, and align appropriations with national priorities and the aspirations of our constituents.
The capital expenditure that was budgeted is unprecedented in Nigeria.
This appropriation bill prioritizes microeconomic stability.
And if you look at the sectoral allocations of this budget, Mr. President, I've touched on the core areas of security and defense.
It is a budget that will present the gateway to a prosperous Nigeria.
This bill is now committed to the Committee on Appropriation to revert to the Senate in 1 month.
The lawmakers also passed the 2024 and 2025 budget repeal and reenactment bills, extending implementation of the capital components to 31st March 2026, as requested by President Bola Tinubu.
The repeal and enactment seek to balance the responsiveness with fiscal responsibility, ensuring that urgent expenditure do not weaken legislative oversight and undermine the fiscal procedure.
The idea or the ugly scenario of running multiple budgets in a single revenue inflow will now be consigned to dustbin of history.
What we lack in this country is infrastructure. And what I have seen captured in this mostly are infrastructure. It is top-notch, Mr. President. And I commend the chairman and members of the committee.
The Senate, in a point of order from Senator Babangida Hussaini, commended the intervention of the President in the ongoing construction of Abuja-Kaduna Road, but asked officials responsible to ensure adherence to standard in addition to effective traffic management.
Reports indicate a lack of sufficient temporary traffic signs, diversion markings, lane delineators, nighttime illumination, and speed control measures along many sections of a construction corridor, exposing motorists to unnecessary hazards.
Two senators from Rivers State, Mpigi Barinada and Orwell Onyoso, defected to APC from the PDP, increasing the representation of the ruling party in the Senate to 7 to 8. Senate has honored late Senator Peter Nwubushi from Delta State, who served in the 8th and 9th Senate, with a minute's silence and prayers for the repose of his soul. Plenary has been adjourned to Tuesday, 27th January 2026 for the Christmas and New Year holidays. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
Similarly, the House of Representatives has passed the revised 2024 and 2025 Appropriation Acts as requested by President Bola Tinubu. Also during its last plenary in the year 2025, the House also passed a bill to amend the Electoral Act 2022 and enact a new electoral law. National Assembly correspondent Mechar Ikwen has details.
My dear brother, Congratulations.
The last plenary for the year commenced with notice of defection from 6 lawmakers from Rivers State who dumped the PDP for the APC.
Not a very happy day to me. I'm from Rivers State.
We also look forward to seeing more and more of the PDP family coming to join us.
The House then passed the Electoral Act Amendment Bill, having concluded a rigorous review which now awaits concurrence by the Senate. At the Committee on Supply, lawmakers repealed and reenacted the 2025 budget to authorize the withdrawal of 48.31 trillion naira from the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation, extending implementation of the capital component to 31st March 2026. As requested by the President, the 2024 budget was also reenacted.
Under the 2025 Appropriation Act Repeal and Enactment, the sum of 6.674 trillion was reduced from the capital allocation and rolled over to 2026 fiscal year due to funding constraints. The initiative is expected to make the budget effective in meeting the expenditure of the governors given the anticipated increase in revenue generating profile in the next fiscal year.
For lawmakers, the year 2025 has been quite engaging.
Very productive legislative year. We've had innovative bills and effective legislation for this year.
It was well spent as far as legislative work is concerned.
There may have been some dark cloud, but I see a silver lining. And I see all of the reforms that the President has commenced already beginning to translate into good times for Nigerians.
See our country today. We are going to be better off. We've turned around. We are no longer in the danger zone. We've moved out of the danger zone.
I want to call for patient understanding and prayers, because as leaders, you cannot do everything.
The House of Representatives has adjourned plenary till Tuesday, the 27th of January 2026, to enable lawmakers observe the Christmas and New Year recess. From the National Assembly, Mitaire Ikwen, NTA News.
In the same vein, the Yobe State House of Assembly has passed the 2026 Appropriation Bill authorizing the use of Consolidated Revenue Fund of the state to the tune of more than 515 billion naira for the capital and recurrent service of the state. Babagana Kolo reports that the budget estimate passed as a reduction of 51 million naira from the proposal presented by Governor Malabuni.
It could be recalled that the Finance and Appropriation Bills 2026 of 515 billion 583 million naira were laid before the Yobe State House Assembly by Governor Malabuni on Thursday, November 6, 2025. The bills were committed to the House Standing Committee on Finance and Appropriation for legislative scrutiny. The budget size was therefore reduced by 51 million naira.
This bill is here for third reading and passage of this law. If the House agrees, so that we can take it now, because we have already clean copy for the passage.
The third reading has been taken and passed by this honorable House. Thank you. So the clean copy is here with us. I will prepare it for his Chief Executive's assent anytime from now.
In another development, a bill for an act to establish Yobe State Agency for Drug Abuse Control and Rehabilitation has been presented before the House by the House Leader Nasiru Hassan Yusuf. Meanwhile, the bill for an act to repeal and reenact the Rural Electrification Commission to generate, supply, transmit and sell electricity at the rural areas of the state was also taken for the second reading. In the matter, I am Babagana Kolo, NTA News.
Joining us to discuss the ideal way on the role of state assemblies in influencing the preparation, approval and implementation of the state budget is the Executive Director, Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center, CISLAC. You're welcome to Parliamentary News. What are the ideal roles of state assemblies in influencing the preparation, approval and implementation of state budgets?
It is absolutely necessary to know that the Constitution and the legislative practices empowers state assemblies to scrutinize, to carry out effective oversight of the budget by ensuring that the budget they pass and assented by the governor is properly implemented. They do this through their oversight, through the reviews of various financial laws that we have, including the fiscal responsibility for some of those states that they have fiscal responsibility law in place. Even if there is a amendment, they must approve of it. The governor cannot just carry out transfer of one particular budget to another without State Assembly approval.
In what ways does the State Assembly ensure transparency and accountability in the use of public funds?
The governor is what the relevant government ministries and prostators are implementing. Secondly, through their oversight, they will be able to ensure that there's no diversion, there's no waste, there's no also duplication of public taxpayers' money. So they do this through the fiscal oversight, through also review of the various financial laws in the states.
Thanks for your insights, Director. We now pause for some messages. The news continues shortly. Do stay with us.
Some moments never fade. Some debates still echo. And some decisions continue to shape our future. Stay back in time with us as we revisit the redefining plenary sections of Nigeria's National Assembly. From intensive debates to landmark legislations, from voices of yesterday to lessons for today, we bring history alive. This is from the archives, where the past speaks to the present, and history guides the future. We write history, revisit the debates. From the archives, only on NTA Parliament. Watch us on DSTV channel, Go TV channel, Star Times channel, and free to air.
You're on to NTA Parliamentary News, reaching you from Nigeria's capital city, Abuja. Moving on, the Attorney General of the Federation and the Minister of Justice, Lateef Fagbemi, SN, is urging adherence to international standards as Senate amends Terrorism Act, Prevention and Prohibition to prescribe death sentence on kidnapping, banditry, and related crimes.
I believe we must be cautious not to adopt a policy that, while emotionally satisfying, may prove counterproductive to our ultimate goal of a safer Nigeria. From a critical perspective, or a tactical perspective, it is our view that the proposal to include the death penalty for convicted terrorists should be viewed because it inadvertently facilitates the martyrdom trap.
Terrorism addresses three critical elements. There is the ideological dimension, there is the political dimension, and the mass intimidation dimension. And any definition of terrorism that goes beyond this framework is not consistent with international global dimensions regarding this definition.
We also propose that the mandatory death penalty be replaced with a discretionary sentencing regime, including life imprisonment or death in aggravated cases.
At a public hearing on the bill, while some lawmakers pointed that punitive measures must be in place to deter would-be offenders, the minister and some stakeholders were of the view that capital punishment may not serve the purpose.
You are at liberty as lawyers to, in the open, defend a murderer, and you go home and sleep. I, as a senator, when somebody from my constituency is killed by a kidnapper, and they see the person walking freely, or he goes to court, and the court asks him to go and spend 5 years, 10 years in prison Meanwhile, their loved ones have been killed. Our people do not understand that as justice.
This is what we're going through. We don't need a foreign country to help us. We have opportunity to help ourselves. So let us look at that and see the possibility of bringing legislations that will also aid in addressing some of these issues.
Chairman of the Joint Committee on Judiciary, National Security and Intelligence, as well as Interior, Adigbomire Ayodele SN, said all submissions will be assessed on merit.
It is the view of the sponsor of the bill that if capital punishment is meted out to whoever is found culpable, then it will stem the tide. We have listened to the positions for and against, and as the Senate, we will go back in our own committee and read all these memoranda, consider all the points, and make our recommendations to the Senate as a body.
Submissions were also made on the bill that seeks to reform legal practice in Nigeria. In Mina, the Niger State House of Assembly has passed a bill for a law to establish an additional school of nursing and midwifery in Suleja. This follows the adoption of the report of the Joint House Standing Committees on the bill sponsored by member representing Suleja constituency, Murtala Adamu Badaru. Nura Ibrahim tells us more.
The development followed the presentation of our report by the Joint House Committee on Education, Science, Technology, Health, Nutrition and Primary Health Care, as well as that of Judiciary and Legal Matters, on a private member bill sponsored by Murtala Badaru Suleja for a law to establish Niger State College of Nursing and Midwifery and for other matters connected, 2025. The plenary, presided over by the Deputy Speaker Afiniki Yunis Dauda, considered and adopted all the recommendations contained in the report presented by the chairman of the Joint Committee, Mohammed Sani Idris Tafa, which sought to, among other things, strengthen the State College of Nursing and also establish an additional campus of the school in Suleja to ensure more accessibility and inclusiveness.
Realizing that you have already in Bida, Kontagora, you have in Mina, is just to provide additional access, more so that there is no tertiary institution from that angle, and this will provide access to the teeming population that is there. The principal objective of presenting or sponsoring this bill is to create an enabling environment, to create opportunity for our constituents to acquire education in a very good and a conducive atmosphere. That is to say, to bring education very close to them without having any stress or going into a very unconducive process. And then again, to close the gap of having non-professionals within the community.
The House also considered a private member bill for a law to repeal the Niger State Drugs and Hospital Consumables Management Agency 2010 and reenact Niger State Drugs and Hospital Consumable Management Agency and other matters connected therewith 2025. The bill, sponsored by member representing Paikoro State Constituency, Nasir Umar, seeks to strengthen the operations of the agency in line with the national health priorities.
This particular agency has been in existence in Niger State since 2010. Niger State have to was fortunate to be one of the pioneer states that came up with this agency as at then. As at today, not all the states have this particular agency, but there's a marching order from the Federal Ministry of Health that all states must now have this particular agency across board. And this marching order came up with some specification in that particular agency. From our own side in Niger State, we just look into that law and see where those specifications are missing in our own law. And the essence of forwarding this particular bill is to make sure we insert those things that this agency is lacking based on the specification that has been given from Federal Ministry of Health.
The House also adopted the State Medium-Term Expenditure Framework 2026 to 2028. This is equal to the presentation of the report by the Chairman House Standing Committee on Appropriation, Zubairu Ismail Rafi.
We have to
follow the procedures, most especially this MTEP. MTEP is a medium-term framework.
The House had earlier announced the receipt of 3 correspondences from Governor Umar Muhammad Bago seeking approval for the reappointment of Muhammad Isu Madami as Executive Chairman, Niger State Board of Internal Revenue Service in Mina. Noor Ibrahim, NTA News.
In another development, the Delta State House of Assembly has adopted the recommendations of the House Committee on Public Petitions on the alleged indefinite suspension without pay of Joy Fasido by Delta State Printing Publishing Corporation, DPPC.
Presenting the motion, member representing Eastern Obolo Ikorobasi State Constituency, Selina Okpatu, is concerned about increasing trend where individuals and groups deliberately encroach on government-acquired lands and project pathways. Mrs. Okpatu is drawing particular attention to areas along proposed routes for roads, drainage system, and other public infrastructure with intentions of demanding compensation when such projects commence.
3. Recommend that henceforth no compensation should be paid to any persons or group found to have erected structures on government-acquired lands after official acquisition or demolition notice have been issued, and that such offenders shall be made to bear the cost of demolition, removal, or restoration of the affected sites. In addition to facing appropriate legal sanction as provided by law.
The House, after extensive deliberations, resolved that henceforth no compensation should be paid to any individual or group found to have erected structures on government-acquired lands after official acquisition or demarcation notices have been issued. The Speaker, Akwa Ibom State House of Assembly, Udemoton, directed the Clerk of the House, Nsika Obon Orok, to communicate the resolution of the House to the Ministry of Lands and Water Resources for immediate action. Also at the plenary, member representing Parenin State Constituency, Uwem Umoita, presented a motion on the need to implement the national policy on early childhood education in Akwa Ibom State.
This House notes that education is the bedrock of national development and that early childhood education lays the foundation for lifelong learning, social integration, and intellectual development of the child. Aware that the federal government of Nigeria, through the National Policy on Education as revised, provides for the establishment and implementation of early childhood care, development and education programs as the first level of education designed for children aged 0 to 5 years.
Nsikak Okon, NTA News.
That update from Delta State Assembly concludes this bulletin. For more updates and other programs, visit the social media handles displayed on your screen. On behalf of the production crew, do enjoy the rest of our programs. Joshua Ogunjide. Good night.